In this video, we are going to discuss on how to represent the system of linear inequalities graphically.
Next, let's look at example 2. For each of the following, determine the region which satisfies the inequality. For A, here we have x plus 2y greater than 4. So you should remember, just now we note the important thing, which is y is on left hand side and it is positive. So your equation is x plus 2y greater than 4. So here your y is on left hand side and it is positive. So you don't have to rewrite your inequality. Okay, student. Next, here we have greater than. It means that it is excluded boundary line. So when it is excluded boundary line, it is broken line. And then the notation is greater. So it is upper line. So you should write, or you should note first, your inequality is broken line and it is upper. Next, we need to know the step to find the region. So for the first step, you need to rewrite the equation in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So remember, this is linear graph. So number 1, we rewrite the equation in the form of y equals to mx plus c. X plus 2y equals to 4. Then, step number 2, we need to find at least 2 points. So, to be easy, let x equals to 0. So, 0 plus 2y equals to 4. That means y equals to 2. So, the point will be 0, 2. For the second point, we let y equal to 0. So, x plus 2 times 0 equals to 4. So, x will be 4. So, you need to write your coordinate correctly. 4, 0, not 0, 4. Okay, student? Then, the third step, we need to draw the linear graph. So, student, please remember, in order to ensure that your graph is good and makes sense, we must use reasonable scale. I'm sure you know how to choose or use reasonable scale in order to draw your graph, right? Okay. Plus, a good graph must be 3/4 from your graph paper. And then you should label your graph. Most of the students having problem when they are going to compare their graph with their friends. Some of your friends use different scale than yours. So when you compare your graph, you should see your friend's scale so that your graph and your friend's graph is correct. Okay, so the reasonable scale here is so important so that you know your graph is correct or wrong. So students, how to ensure you draw a good graph and you use a reasonable scale? So we need to use a graph paper. So students, please take out your graph paper first. So for this question, we will be using reasonable scale. And the scale that we will be using is x-axis 5 units equals to 1, and for y-axis 5 units equals to 1 as well. So first thing first, we need to draw your axis first. So this is x-axis and this is y-axis. Since we use scale 5 units equals to 1 and 5 units equals to 1 for both x and y, so we will have like this. Okay, so here we can write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for x-axis, and for y we can write like this, 2, 4. Okay, as long as you are using the correct scale. Next, okay, let's see the points that we get. The first point is 0, 2. So mark your point with x, 0, 2. And the second point is 4, 0. Okay, then you need to draw your linear graph. Okay, students, so here you need to know whether this is broken line or solid line. So remember, at first we note that this is broken line. So you need to draw broken line for this linear graph. So it will be look like this. So this is broken line. Okay student, you need to ensure that your broken line or your linear graph didn't stop at 40 or 02. Okay, because there is no limitation for this linear graph. So you need to draw it pass through the point 02 and 40. Okay student, next you need to label your graph. So you should label your graph x plus 2y equals to 4. Okay, at this point we didn't use inequalities, but we are using equal 4. Next step, we need to identify the region and shape the region. So at first we already know this is upper, so it means the region is upper the line. So this is upper the line. So I will be using the highlighter so that you can see it clearly. So this is the region. Please shade your region correctly, because most of the students do it wrong. Why they do it wrong? Because they just shade the region in the first quadrant. Okay, so you should understand what it means by first quadrant. Okay student, so you should shade the region correctly. Next, let's look at B. So here we have y is greater than 5x. So remember student, first thing first, we need to ensure that your y is on your left hand side and it is positive. So your y here is on left hand side and it is positive. So you don't have to rewrite your inequalities. Then after that, since we ensure that our y is on left hand side and it is positive, then we need to identify whether this is broken line or solid line, and then whether this is upper or lower. So here, since we have greater than, okay, it means that this is excluded boundary line. So when this is excluded boundary line, so we will have broken line. So we denote as BL, and then the notation is greater. So it is upper. Okay student, so this is the first thing that you need to identify. First, your y is on left hand side and it is positive. Then what is the line, whether this is broken line or solid line. Then whether this is upper region or lower region. Next, let's look at the steps. First step, we need to rewrite in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So number 1, we should write like this, y equals to 5x. Okay, so remember this is linear graph. Then number 2, find at least 2 points. So to be easy, okay, we let x equals to 0. So when x equals to 0, y will be 0 as well. So the point will be 0, 0. And then we let y equals to 0. So when y equals to 0, x will be 0 as well. So please remember student, here we only have 1 point, which is 0, 0. So in order to find another 1 point, we need to let x equals to something, regardless 0. So here I choose 1. So when x equals to 1, we will have y equals to 5. So here the point that we get is 1, 5. Please remember student, okay, when we let x equals to 0, we will get y equals to 0. So here we have 0, 0. And then if we choose let y equals to 0, again we will have x equals to 0. So here we again get 0, 0. That means 0, 0 is just 1 point. Please remember. So you need to find another point. So let x equals to 1. So until this stage, you can choose your x, whether 1, 2, -1, -2, or something else except 0. So that you will get another point, which is here 1, 5. So the point will be 0, 0 and 1, 5. Then the third step, we need to draw the linear graph. So please remember, we need to use reasonable scale so that your graph makes sense and you draw it correctly. So for this function or for this linear graph, we will be using the scale. For x-axis, 10 units equals to 1, and for y-axis, 10 units equals to 2. So please prepare your graph paper, student. So this is your graph paper, and then draw the axis first. So this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. So since for x-axis the scale is 10 units equals to 1, so here we write 1, 2, 3. And then for y-axis 10 units equals to 2. So here will be 2, 4, 6. So the point that we get is 0, 0. So mark your point. So this is 0, 0 and 1, 5. So the point is here 1, 5. Then you should draw your linear graph. So this is your linear graph. Okay. Make sure your linear graph is broken line. So here we already know that your linear graph is broken line. Okay. And then you should label your graph. So y equals to 5x. Please remember to label your graph. If not, you will lose mark. Okay. Next, the last step, we need to identify the region and shade the region. So here we already identify the region, which is the upper line. So upper line is here, student. Okay, this is upper line. Okay. Again, you need to shade the region correctly. Okay, not only in the first quadrant, but the region is in the second quadrant and third quadrant as well. Okay. Next, for C, we have x minus y less than or equals to 3. So first thing first, we need to know that where is your y. So here your y is on left hand side. See here, this is negative. So what we need to do, student? We need to rewrite your inequalities. So since we get x minus y less than or equals to 3, so we need to rephrase your inequalities. It will be like this. X less than or equals to 3 plus y. Okay, so here your y is on right hand side. We need to change it so that your y is on left hand side and it is positive. So we change it 3 plus y greater than or equals to x. Please avoid careless mistake. Okay, student. So now you have the new inequality, which is 3 plus y greater than or equals to x. So here you can see that your y is on left hand side and your y is positive. Okay. So here since we have 3 plus y greater than or equals to x, then the second thing we can identify whether this is broken line or solid line, then whether this is upper line or lower line region. So here since we have greater than or equal, so it means that this is included boundary line. So this is SL, solid line, because it is included boundary line. So we should draw it solid line. Then the notation is greater than or equal. So this is upper line. The region will be upper the line. Okay, student. So I repeat. First, we need to rewrite your inequality so that your y is on left hand side and it is positive. Since here we have the inequality where your y is negative on the left hand side. We need to rewrite. So we get 3 plus y greater than or equals to x. So until here, we can identify the solid line or the broken line, upper the line or below the line. Since here we have the notation is greater than or equal, so the region will be upper the line, and then it is included boundary line. So the line will be solid line. After that, let's look at the step. Okay, so first step, we need to write in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So here we will write 3 plus y equals to x. Then the second step, we need to find at least 2 points. So here we let x equals to 0. So 3 plus y equals to 0. Y equals to negative 3. So here we write the point first, 0, negative 3. The second point, we let y equals to 0. So 3 plus 0 equals to x. So x will be equals to 3. So 3, 0. 3, 0, not 0, 3. Okay, student? Next, the third step, draw linear graph. We need to use reasonable scale. So for this linear, we will be using the scale for x-axis, 10 units equals to 1, and for y-axis, 10 units equals to 1 as well. So this is your graph paper. Draw your scale first. So this is x-axis and this is y-axis. Okay, so your scale is 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then for y-axis, okay, here we have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Then mark your point. So the first point is 0, negative 3 is here. Okay, and then 3, 0. Okay, then remember your line is solid line. Okay, so draw your solid line. So this is your solid line. Don't forget to label your graph. So you should label your graph. So your graph is 3 plus y equals to x. You also can write as x minus y equals to 3. Okay, student? Then the last step, we need to identify the region and shape it. So we already know that this is the upper region. So the upper region is like this. Okay, this is the region that we need to shape. Okay. For D, here we have 2x plus 3y less than or equals to 6. So your y is on left hand side. Okay, and it is positive. Okay, so we don't have to rewrite your inequality. Okay, then the inequalities is less than or equal. So this is included boundary line. So when it is included boundary line, so this is solid line. Okay, and then the notation is less than or equal. So please remember, when the notation is less than or equal, which region that we need to shape, upper or lower? So it should be lower, because of the notation is less than or equal. So now again, the first step, we need to rewrite. So 2x plus 3y equals to 6. Next, we need to find at least 2 points. We let x equals to 0. So we will have, okay, y will be 2. Okay, so write your coordinate 0, 2. And then for the second point, we let y equals to 0. So your x will be 3. So 3, 0. Okay, student? Then the third step, again, we need to use reasonable scale. So for this graph, we will be using the scale for x-axis 10 units equals to 1, and for y-axis 10 units equals to 1 as well. So this is your graph paper. Draw your axis first. Label your axis x, y. So here for x-axis we have 1, 2, 3. For y-axis we have 1, 2, 3. Then mark your point. The first point is 0, 2. So here is 0, 2 and 3, 0. Then draw your linear graph. Okay, it must be solid line because of included boundary line. So this is your linear graph. Then you should label your graph. 2x plus 3y equals to 6. Then the last step, we need to identify the region and shape it. So the region is lower the line or below the line. Okay, so here can be B or L. Okay, B for below, L for lower. So lower the line, that means it is here. So this is the region. Okay, student.